AITA for sleeping with my boss to save my husband's job. I, 32, am married to my husband, Mark, 35, and we have been together for 10 years. Mark is a hardworking man who is dedicated to his job at a small construction company. He has always been a dependable employee, never missing a day of work and always going above and beyond what is expected of him. However, the company has been struggling financially due to the current economic climate, and Mark's boss, Mr. Thompson, 50, has been forced to make some tough decisions. One day, Mark came home looking dejected and told me that there were talks of layoffs at his company, and he was worried about losing his job. He had been the sole breadwinner for our family, and the thought of him being unemployed was terrifying. I knew I had to do something to help save Mark's job, so when Mr. Thompson called me into his office the next day, I was prepared to do whatever it took. Mr. Thompson was a handsome man, charming and charismatic, and I had always been attracted to him. As we talked, he made it clear what he wanted in exchange for keeping Mark employed. I knew the implications of what he was asking, but I felt like I had no choice. I agreed to sleep with him in exchange for him letting Mark keep his job. That night, I went home feeling sick to my stomach, but I knew I had made the right decision for my family. The next morning, I told Mark the good news that he wouldn't be losing his job after all. He was overjoyed and relieved, and I felt a sense of guilt begin to creep in. I couldn't bear to tell him what I had done to save his job, so I kept it a secret, burying it deep down inside me. For a while, everything seemed to go back to normal. Mark was happy to be back at work, and I tried to push the events of that night with Mr. Thompson out of my mind. But as the weeks went by, I couldn't shake the guilt that gnawed at me. I felt dirty and used, like a pawn in Mr. Thompson's game. One day, Mr. Thompson called me into his office again. He told me that he wanted to continue our arrangement, that he enjoyed our time together and wanted more of it. I felt sick to my stomach, realizing that I was trapped in a situation that I couldn't escape from. I knew that if I refused him, he would likely fire Mark and leave our family without any source of income. I felt helpless and alone, like I was drowning in a sea of lies and deceit. I didn't know how to get out of this mess that I had created for myself. I couldn't bear the thought of losing Mark, but I also couldn't continue selling my body to Mr. Thompson in exchange for his goodwill. As the weeks turned into months, the situation only grew more complicated. I found myself becoming increasingly disconnected from Mark, unable to look him in the eye without feeling a pang of guilt. Our once happy marriage had turned into a charade, with me playing the role of the devoted wife while keeping a dark secret hidden from him. I began to resent Mr. Thompson for putting me in this position, for forcing me to choose between my husband's job and my own self-respect. I couldn't continue living a lie, pretending like everything was fine when it was. I needed to find a way out of this nightmare that I had created for myself. And then, one day, everything came crashing down around me. I received a call from Mr. Thompson, informing me that he had been fired from the company for inappropriate behavior with female employees. I felt a mixture of relief and dread wash over me, knowing that my secret was safe, but also realizing that I had lost the leverage that had kept Mark employed. I didn't know what to do next. Should I come clean to Mark and risk losing him for good? Or should I continue to keep my dark secret buried, hoping that it would never resurface? The weight of my guilt was unbearable, threatening to suffocate me if I didn't find a way to release it. As I sit here now, torn between the love I have for my husband and the shame of my actions, I can't help but wonder, am I the asshole for sleeping with my boss to save my husband's job? Update. In the days following Mr. Thompson's termination, I struggled with my decision to keep the truth hidden from my husband. The guilt weighed heavy on my heart, threatening to consume me entirely. I couldn't bear to look at Mark, knowing that my betrayal lay hidden beneath the surface of our seemingly happy life. I tried to push the thoughts of Mr. Thompson and our sordid arrangement from my mind, but they haunted me at every turn. I couldn't escape the memories of that fateful night, the way his hands touched me, the way he looked at me with lustful eyes. I felt tainted, stained by the choices I had made to save my husband's job. And then one evening, as Mark and I sat down for dinner, he turned to me with a look of concern in his eyes. "Is everything okay, Sarah?" he asked gently. "You seem distant lately." I felt a lump form in my throat, the words of confession hovering on the tip of my tongue. But I couldn't bring myself to shatter the illusion of our perfect life together. I plastered a smile on my face and assured him that everything was fine, that I was just tired from work. but the weight of my secret only grew heavier with each passing day. I couldn't continue living a lie, pretending that everything was normal when it was. I needed to come clean, to face the consequences of my actions and seek redemption for the betrayal I had committed. And so, one night, as Mark slept soundly beside me, I made a decision. I would tell him everything, the truth about Mr. Thompson, the deal I had struck to save his job, and the guilt that had been eating me alive ever since. The next morning, I sat Mark down and poured out my heart to him, tears streaming down my face as I confessed everything. The shock and anger on his face were palpable, his eyes clouded with a mix of betrayal and hurt. "How could you do this to me?" he seethed, his voice laced with venom. "How could you betray our marriage like this?" I couldn't find the words to defend myself, to make him understand the impossible choice I had faced. I could see the love and trust in his eyes shatter into a million pieces, the shards of our marriage scattered on the ground between us. And as he walked out the door, his final words ringing in my ears, I knew that the truth had cost me everything. I had saved his job, but at the cost of our marriage, our love, our trust. Conclusion. So am I the asshole for sleeping with my boss to save my husband's job? In the end, the answer is not a simple one. I made a choice that tore apart the fabric of my marriage, that shattered the trust between me and the man I once loved more than anything in this world. I sacrificed my own self-respect, my own dignity, in a desperate bid to keep my family afloat. And in doing so, I lost the very thing I had sought to protect, my husband's love and trust. And as I sit here, surrounded by the debris of my shattered marriage, I can't help but wonder, was it worth it? Was the price I paid for my actions worth the outcome I had hoped to achieve? In the end, the answer is a resounding no. I am not the asshole for trying to save my husband's job, but I am the asshole for sacrificing my own integrity in the process. The guilt and shame of my actions will haunt me for the rest of my days, a reminder of the cost of betrayal and the fragility of trust. And as I pick up the pieces of my broken heart, I know that the fallout from my decision will leave both sides hating each other. The love we once shared will forever be tainted by the shadow of my betrayal, a wound that may never fully heal. So am I the asshole? Perhaps. But more importantly, I am a woman who made a choice that came at a great cost, and now I must live with the consequences of my actions, for better or for worse. Was the op in the wrong? Comment down below and make sure to like and subscribe.